Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Christensen and I'm one of your friendly Brian LifePoint dietitians. During LifePoint's closure, myself along with some of our exercise staff are working to make sure that we can still provide some helpful tips and suggestions in hopes that you're remaining healthy and making just general good choices in terms of nutrition and exercise at this point. So we wanted to bring a little bit of LifePoint to you. That was some of the thought process behind this. So one thing that I really wanted to start out with was the topic of food safety. There's been a couple of questions that I've received in regards to this. So just thought I would send along a couple of suggestions, a couple of things that we not only need to keep in mind right now, but at any given point. So we know that proper food safety should always be practiced, but since you may find yourself in your kitchen experimenting a little bit more during this time, just wanted to provide a couple of reminders here for you. So we'll talk about the following areas, and we'll start out by so before that, really wanted to let people know that there's been lots of articles and resources that suggest that food is not a great vector or carrier for the coronavirus, which is really good news. But we still need to focus in on a couple of different areas because we know that there is the potential for coronavirus to survive on different types of surfaces. And so that's where cleaning properly really comes into place too. So I'm sure you're getting sick of this, but washing your hands often is so crucial. So 20 seconds, really scrubbing under warm water with soap is really the best way to protect yourself, especially if you're working with food as well. So to start, I think it's important if you get groceries or somebody's delivering those to you, I want to give some tips on just how to handle unpacking that. So once you bring your groceries into your home environment, you want to discard of any of the plastic or paper bags that it may have come in. Some resources suggest that we transfer our food to clean containers if possible. So things like cereal or pastas, although I know that isn't necessarily always going to be feasible. We don't necessarily know how long coronavirus can last on various surfaces, but the thought process, or the assumption rather, is that it follows suit with other viruses. So anywhere from a few hours to 3 days. And that's why we want to also make sure that we are disinfecting our countertops properly. So if those bags sit on our countertops and we don't necessarily wipe it down and we start preparing food, we may now have kind of provided a point of cross-contamination there. So again, making sure that our spaces are clean as well as our hands. And then, as we always should, we should thoroughly wash our produce. One of the main questions that I've actually gotten is whether or not fresh produce is safe, given that other people are touching it and may have spread or shared some of their germs. Really, if you think about it, that's true at any point. And so we should do what we always do and practice that proper washing of our produce. So you can give it a good scrub under running water, or if you would like to, you can also use a diluted vinegar solution. And that would consist of 1 part white vinegar to 3 to 4 parts water. And some will spray it on produce and then rinse it off with regular tap water. Others may prefer a soak method where you would soak it for about 20 minutes and then wash it off again thoroughly with regular water. I also think it's important for individuals to consider frozen or canned fruits and vegetables at this time. They're equally as nutritious, and again, they may be a little bit more shelf stable for us, or they keep a little bit better. So if we're trying to minimize how often we're going to the grocery store, that can be something to consider as well. Unrelated tip for canned vegetables: if you drain them and rinse them, you'll remove about 30 to 35% of the sodium content. Likewise, with fruits that may be packed in syrups rather than their own fruit juices, I would also suggest draining those and rinsing those off to remove some of those added sugars. So the last question that I'll kind of cover on this page comes in terms of whether or not it's safe to get takeout or delivery. And in short, I think that this really depends on your level of comfort with that. Again, food is not necessarily believed to be a carrier for this virus. So the only potential exposure thing that you would need to consider is additional exposure to people. We would get that if we go to the grocery store as well too. So knowing that our food service industry friends are needing a little bit of love right now, and knowing that they're upholding very high food preparation and safety standards, the one suggestion that I would give here is, once you bring that food item or food items into your home, you wash your hands and remove it from the container that it was brought to you in, or that you purchased it in. Put it on a clean plate or another clean container, and then discard those containers that it came in and wash your hands again before you eat. I know, again, it's maybe a little bit more steps, but that is one way, again, given that we don't know the length of time that it can remain on those surfaces. So just another tip to help minimize that risk. Next up, we need to make sure, as always, that we're separating things like raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs from those items that are more ready to eat. So think about fresh produce. As we're preparing foods, we need to make sure surfaces, cutting boards, knives are all cleaned and disinfected between use of those items. And again, washing our hands between that as well. So we want people to do this always, but again, right now, none of us need another thing on our plates in terms of illnesses, and really trying to prevent any type of foodborne illness now and in other cases as well too. So another good piece or good part is that cooking will allow any of those potential pathogens, virus, or bacteria that may be contaminating food, it will kill those. So that's another piece of good news. We need to make sure, though, that our foods are reaching the proper internal temperature for safe consumption, and that the best way to do that, or the only way rather, should be through the use of a food thermometer. Lastly, we want to make sure that people are chilling or refrigerating their leftovers within 2 hours of cooking, really trying to avoid time within those temperature danger zones. So keep that in mind as well. A couple of bonus tips: we want to make sure that people are also thawing their foods properly. That needs to happen either in the refrigerator. Here again, make sure that that is a meat product, that it's on a plate and it's not above, it's on the lowest shelf and not above any fresh produce. And then another option would be under cold water or thawing in the microwave. Definitely don't want to be thawing out foods on the countertops. That gives it too long, and again, too many points for potential bacteria to develop. And one question, again, that often comes up, maybe a little bit more than I feel like it should have, but really we want to make sure that any leftovers are consumed, or if they're able to be frozen quality-wise, then we want to do so within 4 days of that original cooking time. So with that, I will sign off for the day. But again, if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to me at lauren.christensen@bryanhealth.org. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. If you have any suggestions for topics that you would like me to address, I can certainly try to work those in. So feel free to shoot those my way too. Be on the lookout for some additional nutrition tips and suggestions coming to an email near you. Until the next time, I hope you all stay well and cook up a little food. Thanks, everyone.